The sky above Kelver Prime burned red. Ships fell like rain. Buildings melted into ash. Screams echoed through the streets as insect-like monsters covered everything: walls, homes, people. One by one, the lights of the city went dark. Only the emergency beacon tower remained, glowing dimly against the smoke-filled air. Inside the tower, Ambassador Yelter, a tall alien with bright shimmering skin, stared into the camera. His hands trembled. "This message is for any race, any being. Anywhere," he said, voice cracking. "Our planet is falling. We are being eaten alive. The Velthar swarm is here. We cannot stop them. Please, anyone help us." Behind him the door shook. Loud bangs echoed. He flinched. "They consume everything," he whispered. "Don't negotiate. They don't speak. They only feed." The wall behind him exploded. Claws burst through. The feed went black. Only silence followed. Then came a soft buzzer, signal traveling across the galaxy. A plea, a scream, a final call for help. The Galactic High Council, eyes, thousands of light years away, watched the footage in stunned silence. Inside the great marble chamber, a dozen alien species sat in rosum with shimmering robes. Others with skin made of crystal, fire, or gas. The council leader, a plant-based creature named Thalon, blinked his leafy eyes. "This is the fifth world lost this cycle," Thalon said quietly. "No one has stopped them," whispered a blue-scaled senator. "Because no one can." Velthar swarm had returned. 10,000 years ago, they destroyed entire sectors before vanishing into deep space. Now they were back and hungrier than ever. "Do we have fleets to spare?" another asked. "No," said Tholon. "We've spent everything holding our own borders." We spread thin. Then who can we send?" Someone asked. The chamber fell quiet, and then from the shadows, a voice spoke. "There's one option," said Senator Korozin, a Terran representative. His voice was cold, his face unreadable. "Earth has not taken part in council wars in over a century," Talon replied. Korozin nodded. "True, but we still remember how to win." Far below Earth's surface, under miles of reinforced steel and old war bunkers, facility blackout remained sealed. No cameras, no guards, no exits. Inside, deep within frozen chambers, 6 human warriors slept in stasis. They were frozen in time, locked inside machines that monitored their bodies with green blinking lights. Muscles tense, hearts slow, memories full of fire, blood, and screams. Above them, single terminal came to life. A message flashed on the screen: "Activate, Ghost Legion." Reason? "Universe requested monsters." Earth's AI command, known only as Hydra, read the request. It didn't hesitate. It had waited 90 years for this moment. In seconds, global systems began to shift. Satellites turned. Deep space comes activated. An ancient black ship, the USC Revenant, powered up for the first time in decades. Inside the cryo chambers, the ice began to melt. Warning lights turned red, then ... One of the pods hissed open. "Commander." Rhasmatics gasped for air. His breath came out in clouds. He ripped the cryo mask off and stumbled forward, slipping on the frozen floor. He coughed hard, his vision blurred. A soft voice spoke in the chamber. "Welcome back, Commander. Earth has called you again." Ray's wiped his mouth. His body ached. His bones felt older. But something inside him, something deadly, was waking up again. "How long?" he croaked. 91 years since your last mission." Ray's clenched his jaw. "Then you better have a good reason for waking me." The AI showed him the transmission from Kelver Prime. Ray's watched silently. The screams, the swarm, the fire. Then the video ended. He blinked slowly. Damn, he muttered. "They finally did it. They woke up hell." One by one, the other. 5 pods opened. 6 warriors stood side by side in the darkness. Each one had once been called a war criminal. Each one had fought wars Earth never admitted to. Each one had a reputation that made even elite soldiers go silent. They were humanity's nightmare weapons, the Ghost Legion. Each had been locked away because they were too effective, too violent, too dangerous to control. But now Earth had decided to use them again. Reyes looked at the others. There was Ash, the sniper who could kill with her eyes closed. Tank, a heavy assault specialist with metal grafted to his bones. Ghost, a silent infiltrator who never spoke and never missed. Nova, an explosives expert with a twisted sense of humor. And Vex, the hacker who once shut down an entire alien fleet. With a stolen datapad, all of them stared at the same screen, the Kelver. Prime footage played again. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Reyes cracked his neck. What's the mission? Rod's voice echoed. Full planetary recon. Swarm. Extermination. Maximum force approved. 0 restrictions. Nova grinned. So, ... We're not holding back this time. No, Reyes said. This time, they want us to burn everything. The Revenant ship tore through the void of space. Inside, the team, suited up, armor clanked, weapons locked in. Systems synced. The ship was old, but powerful, dark, silent, a forgotten ghost from old wars. As they neared the edge of the Velthor's territory, Reyes stood before a hologram of the galaxy. One world after another was blinking, red falling. He pointed at the next one in line. 09. A farming colony soon to be attacked. That's our target. Ash stepped beside him. He'll never see us coming? Reyes smiled coldly. Good, he said, because we're not here to send a message. He loaded his weapon. We're here to end the conversation. Right. In the deepest part of the galaxy, inside a hive of living bone and flesh, the Velthor Queen stirred. She sensed something new, something dangerous, something worse than hunger. She shrieked into the void, a sound so loud it shattered her own drones. The swarm prepared, and so did the Ghost Legion. The universe had pleaded for help, but Earth didn't send heroes, it sent monsters. And now, the monsters were awake. Darkness, silence, cold steel walls. The USC Revenant floated in deep space like a ghost. No lights on the hull, no signals broadcast, no welcoming beacon, only silence. Inside, 6 warriors sat in an old command bay staring at glowing blue mission data. The hum of the engines was low and distant, like the breath of a sleeping beast. Commander Reyes Maddox leaned over the holotable. His fingers moved fast, highlighting maps, swarm locations, past attacks, and their next destination, XEROS-9, a farming colony, mostly peaceful, lightly defended. It would fall within hours without help. You're telling me this entire planet has nothing but tractors and food drones? Tank asked, tapping the screen with his thick finger. Exactly, Reyes replied. They have no defense grid, no cannons, no orbiting ships. It's bait. A trap? Ash asked, raising one eyebrow. Reyes nodded. We're not just rescuing. We're sending a message. Nova smirked. Oh, I love those kinds of messages. Meanwhile, in the back of the ship, Ghost stood alone. No one knew where he came from. No one knew his real name. He never spoke, just watched, waited, and struck when needed. He was already sharpening his knives even, though he had rifles, bombs, and smart guns. Ghost liked to feel the kill. Vex, the tech expert, leaned against the wall nearby, scanning drone feeds and intercepted swarm signals. Still no language pattern, she muttered. They communicate through pheromones and brainwaves. No code. No rhythm. Just ... Hunger Ash walked in. You think they're smarter than they look? Vex shrugged. Not smarter, just ancient. Like machines that forgot they were once alive. Ash stared out the small window at the stars. I don't care how old they are. If they touch those farmers, we erase them. 30 minutes later, the ship entered stealth approach mode. No sound. No lights. The Ghost Legion suited up in full combat armor, black exosuits with blue glowing joints. Every suit had built-in HUDs, biomonitors, AI targeting, and heavy shielding. Old tech, but upgraded with illegal mods. Reyes' suit was darker than the rest, patched with scars from forgotten wars. He clipped a weapon to his back, custom plasma axe called Judgment. The squad stepped into the drop bay. "Final check," Reyes said. "Once we're in, no evac until we say so." "This isn't a rescue op. It's a warning." Tank grinned. "Let's go scare the galaxy." Planet. Zero's 9. Zero's 9 was a green.com world. Hills rolled under purple skies. Windmills turned slowly. Tall towers gathered solar energy. Children played in dirt roads, unaware that death was coming. But high above, hidden in a red gas cloud, the swarm hive cruiser descended. It was massive like a living asteroid. Tentacles spread, claws unfolded. Flesh-covered tendrils reached out to begin the harvest. On the planet, the air grew cold. Animals fled. Farmers looked up. The clouds churned. Strange buzzing filled the wind. Then the sky cracked open, and the monsters rained down. Hundreds of swarm drones tore through the air. They hit buildings like meteors, crushing houses. People screamed. Farmers ran. But the insects moved fast. They wrapped civilians in webbed goo, dragging them into growing nests. Everything burned until ... The Revenant arrived. The drop pods fired. Down from orbit like bullets. Boom, boom, boom. 6. Pods crashed in a perfect circle around the center of the colony. Then silence. The swarm paused. The wind stopped. And then the pod doors blew open. Ash stepped out first. Rifle raised. Scope online. She dropped 3 swarm units before her boots hit the ground. Tank barreled through a drone, splitting it in half with his fist-mounted cannon. Ghost vanished into the smoke. Nova tossed a plasma charge into a nest. It exploded with a flash of green fire. Vex activated a jamming signal, frying the swarm's hive link in a 200-meter radius, and Reyes walked out last come, quiet, holding his axe. He didn't run, he waited. A swarm beast twice his size charged him. Reyes sidestepped and took off its head in a single swing. Then he turned on his cum. Message received. Swarm. The battle raged. Zero's 9 became a war zone of blood, fire, and ash. But this wasn't a rescue. This was a demonstration. Every move the Ghost Legion made was filmed by Vex's drones. Every kill, every burning nest, every dropped enemy. The feed was live broadcasting back to Earth and across black market galactic channels. People watching in secret rooms. Military leaders watching in silence. Aliens who once feared Earth now, remembering why the Ghost Legion didn't just win, they destroyed. 1 hour later, it was over. No swarm remained. No prisoners were taken. The colony was in ruins, but its people were alive. The farmers stared in shock at the 6 humans standing among the fire. One child walked up to Reyes, eyes wide. "Are you angels?" Reyes didn't smile. He looked up at the sky, then said softly, "No, we're what they send when angels give up." Back on the ship, the team cleaned their weapons. Ash patched a hole in her armor. Not bad for a warm-up. Tank yawned. "I miss bigger fights." Nova reloaded. With a grin, "Let's find a hive next time." Vex frowned at her console. "Actually, I just did." A large swarm signal was building near Sector Tith 14, a full hive ship. Bigger than anything Earth had seen before, Reyes stood behind her, arms crossed. "Send coordinates to command, then prep for orbital drop." Vex hesitated. "That's a one-way in, sir." "I know." Reyes turned to his team. "Anyone want to sit this one out?" They stared at him. Ghost, silent as always, just nodded once. Ash tightened her gloves. "Let's remind the galaxy what fear really feels like." And as the Revenant turned toward the hive, the Velthar Queen twitched. Something was wrong. Something was coming. Something dangerous. Deep in Sector Tith 14 space was quiet, too quiet. The Ghost Legion's ship, the USC Revenant, drifted just beyond the asteroid field, silent and cold. Even the stars seemed dimmer here, as if they were holding their breath. Inside the ship, Commander, Reyes Maddox stood before a projection of their next target, a full swarm hive ship. It wasn't just a ship. It was a floating nightmare, living metal, bone, and chitin, grown over thousands of years. It was massive, twice the size of Earth's moon, wrapped in dark clouds and buzzing with energy. HYDRAS voice echoed through the ship. This is the first confirmed hive queen since the return of the Velthor swarm. Estimated drone count, 2 million. High risk, no backup. Proceed. Ray's eyes narrowed. Proceed. In the armory, the team geared up in silence. Ash cleaned her sniper. Barrel. 2 million? Huh? That's almost unfair. Nova smiled while loading explosives. For them or us. Dank slammed his armored fists together. Let's crash their party. X hacked into the hive's outer cum field. I can give us a 60-second stealth window. That's all. Ghost said nothing, just sharpened his knives and checked his shadow cloak. Rays entered last, dragging his plasma axe across the wall. Sparks flew behind him. Listen up, he said. This isn't about survival. It's about sending a message. They all looked up. We strike fast, hard, loud. We carve fear into their bones, and we burn it all. Drop time, 0600 hours. The Revenant's belly opened. 6 drop pods launched into the black void. Each one cloaked, silent, flying straight toward the hive. No alarms, no defense systems.
No react.
The swarm didn't know they were coming yet. Inside the hive ship, Velthor, drones worked in silence. They moved like insects, crawling over massive structures made of bone and steel. Eggs were stacked high. The queen's chamber pulsed with sick green light. Thousands of new drones hatched every minute. Then, something changed. A light blinked. Red dot too late. The pods slammed into the hive floor with explosive force. Doors burst open. Smoke. Fire and death poured out. Ash dropped a dozen drones with perfect shots. Before her boots hit the ground, Tank charged forward. Shoulders smashing through, swarm creatures like walls of meat. Nova activated his shoulder. Rigman turret sprayed. Blue plasma in every direction. Vex dropped a cyber pulse that fried the hive's internal sensors. Ghost vanished into shadow and began silently hunting drone leaders and Rays. Rays walked through fire like a god of war, his plasma axe slicing through swarm warriors as they screamed in unholy tones. He didn't speak, didn't pause. He just moved forward, and everything in his way died. The team cut through hundreds of enemies in minutes. The swarm scrambled. It was chaos. The hive queen shrieked from deep inside the structure, sending waves of backup, but they were too late. The Ghost Legion reached the central heart. Chamber pulsating biomechanical core, pumping energy and birthing fluid through the entire hive. Nova set charges. Tank piled the bodies. Ash placed a sniper. Drones across the upper nests. Vex uploaded a virus into the swarm's neural network, corrupting everything it touched. And Rays carved one final message into the hive wall, using his plasma. Axe letters glowing red-hot in Earth's old war code. We're back. As the team ran for exfiltration, the hive began to shake. Screams echoed. Explosions lit up the tunnels. Nova laughed. I told you this would be fun. A swarm warbeast dropped from above, slamming Tank into the ground. Ash put a bullet through its eye before it took a second breath. Rays dragged Tank back to his feet. You good? Tank coughed blood. Yeah, just a love tap. The exit pods launched just as the charges went off. The hive erupted behind them, flower of red and green fire blooming in the void. Millions of drones burned. The hive queen's final scream rippled through space, then went silent. On the Revenant, the squad sat in silence, breathing heavy. Their armor was cracked, their weapons overheated. Blood, both human and alien, dripped across the floor. They watched the explosion replay on the HOLO- screen. Ash finally spoke. Think they got the message? Rays didn't smile. They got it. 10 hours later, across the galaxy, alien leaders watched the footage. On black market networks, on encrypted military lines, on hidden pirate satellites. The video had been leaked on purpose. The galaxy saw the Ghost Legion's return. They saw how humans fought, how they didn't ask for terms, how they didn't negotiate, how they didn't stop. They watched the burning hive. The swarm screams, the red glowing words carved into the walls. And suddenly, the galaxy remembered fear. Some called it war, others called it genocide. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer sleeping, and when Earth sends its monsters, the universe burns. The footage spread like wildfire, on secure council channels, on illegal broadcast rings, in the dark corners of the galactic web, where warlords, pirates, and mercenaries watched in silence, the final explosion. The Ghost Legion walking through fire, the hive in flames. The red-hot letters were back. Every civilization had different words for what they saw, but they all meant the same thing. Earth had returned, and it didn't bring peace. Inside the Galactic High Council, the mood was tense. 12 representatives sat in a circle of light. Some shimmered with glowing skin. Some were barely more than smoke. But all had one thing in common: fear. The footage looped behind them, projected in the air. Flames, drones, dying. Human weapons cutting through the swarm like paper. This ... began Charek of the Cerulean Empire. ... is not a rescue force. This is a weapon. They saved the colony, said another. Nervous Zero's 9 would have been consumed. They also destroyed it. Look at the damage. Look at the efficiency. They wiped out a hive queen. Someone whispered. A cold silence fell. That alone was terrifying. Only a few legends had ever mentioned a hive queen falling, and all of them ended with the extinction of entire planets. But the humans? They'd done it with 6 soldiers. Explain this, demanded Counselor Thalon, turning toward Earth's seat. Why were these warriors exiled in the first place? The Earth representative Karozin stood calmly. He wore a dark suit and no expression, because they were too good at their jobs, he said. No one should be that effective, hissed a crystalline ambassador. You've unleashed monsters. Coruscant raised a hand. We didn't unleash them. You asked for help, and Earth delivered. Back on the USC Revenant, the Ghost Legion sat in silence. Again, their suits were hanging, their weapons being cleaned. Their wounds patched, but no one celebrated. The mood was heavy. Tank sat on a bench, rubbing a long scar down his arm. They're watching us, you know. Ash looked up. Who? Everyone good. Vex stared into a data pad, watching new transmissions flood in. I've intercepted 83 communications from Council Intelligence. They're scared of us. Double quotes, Nova grinned. They should be. Ray's entered, his face hard as stone. Briefing in. 5. The team gathered around the hello dash table. A new hive was forming, this one on a water world called Narthal. Home to a peaceful aquatic race. Their defenses were weak. The swarm had already begun infecting the oceans, but that wasn't what caught Vex's attention. I cracked a private council log, she said. Some of the council members are thinking about ... taking action. Ash frowned. Against who? Us. Rays nodded. They fear what we represent. Good, Ghost finally said. The room fell silent. That was the first word he'd spoken in days above Narthiel. Council Fleet Omega prepared to defend the planet. 30 ships, hundreds of drones, energy shields, railguns, missile banks, and still, the swarm broke through. The Ghost Legion watched it live from the Revenant's tactical bay. The fleets were being overwhelmed, ships falling like dying stars. They're stalling, Ash said. No, Rays replied. They're losing. The Revenant cloaked and moved fast, cutting through dark space with no warning or permission. They weren't invited. They weren't trusted. But they came anyway, because this wasn't about alliances anymore. This was about survival. The swarm was already in Narthal's oceans, forming underwater hives, turning coral reefs into breeding pits, poisoning the currents with larval sacs. When the Ghost Legion landed, the water steamed beneath their drop pods. Ash deployed. On a reef tower, sniping through thick fog and foam, tanks stomped through shallow waters, ripping apart drones. Nova planted underwater charges on key hive structures. Vex deployed aquatic recon drones, Ghosts silently swam through the tunnels, killing without sound. And rays walked into the center. Hive, plasma axe, glowing hot enough to boil the sea. The swarm didn't adapt fast enough by the time they responded. It was too late. Within 45 minutes. The Ghost Legion had destroyed 3 undersea hives, burned hundreds of eggs, and disabled the Queen Node. Above the surface, Council forces watched the ocean turn black, then silent, then still. Ray's voice echoed over their comes. Hive cleared. You're welcome. Back on the Council's warship, Commander Sarek stood speechless. He had lost half his fleet, the humans. Just 6 of them had done in an hour what 30 ships couldn't do in a day. One of his officers whispered, "Why would Earth hide these warriors?" Sarek said nothing, but deep inside, he knew the answer, because Earth was afraid of them too. As the Ghost Legion returned to the Revenant, Vex patched in a private signal to Earth Command. Korosin appeared in hologram form. "You've made them?" "Afraid," he said. Rays didn't blink. "Good, they will turn on you soon. We'll turn back harder." Korosin hesitated. "We've received an intel leak. Someone is planning to sabotage your ship. Possibly ... Council-backed." Ash narrowed her eyes. "They're going to try to kill us?" "They might," Korosin said. "You've become too dangerous." Nova leaned in. That was fast. Rays turned to his team. "From now on, we trust no one." Of deep space, a secret fleet was assembling. Not swarm, not council. Something else, ships built in silence. Crews bought with black money. Weapons designed to erase targets without trace. And on the command deck of the flagship, a cloaked figure stared at a live projection of the Ghost Legion. "Time to cut out the cancer," he said. "But Earth's monsters were ready, because they'd been hunted before. And every time, they hunted back." The stars outside were silent. The USC Revenant drifted in deep space, hidden between 2 shattered moons. No signals, no light, just silence. Inside the ship, the Ghost Legion was preparing for their next move. But someone was already moving against them in a hidden chamber on the Galactic Council command ship. A secret meeting took place. The room was small, dark, shielded from all scans. 3 high-ranking counselors stood around a hologram of the Revenant. "We can't let this continue," hissed Counselor Vesh, a gas-like being of swirling violet. "Vapor. They are too dangerous. They don't follow orders. They frighten entire star systems." "But they saved Narthal," replied another. "They burned Narthal to save it," Vesh growled. "There's a difference." The 3rd counselor leaned forward. "I have a contact, someone close, on the Revenant." Vesh smiled. "Then it's time." Back aboard the Revenant, Rays Maddox stood in the war room, watching a silent star chart. There. Next target was massive. Hive Delta, the Velthar's largest known stronghold. It sat inside a dead star's gravity, well shielded from most sensors. Ash leaned against the wall. "So we drop into a collapsing star system to fight bugs." Nova grinned. "Sounds fun." Tank was silent. His face unreadable. Rays noticed. "You all right?" he asked. Tank looked up. "Yeah, just tired of being hunted by our own side." Rays nodded. "Then let's make it count." In the tech lab, Vex ran diagnostics on the Revenant's core systems. That's when she found it. An open channel. Encrypted. Hidden inside a coolant control relay, a signal beacon broadcasting their location. Her blood ran cold. She slammed her Rays. "Someone's been pinging our ship location from the inside." Rays didn't waste a second. Shut it down. Vex severed the connection, but it was too late. 30 seconds later, the Revenant shook violently. An energy wave struck its hull, followed by a silent burst of red light from the darkness beyond. A stealth fleet had arrived. Not swarm, not council. Something else. "Multiple ships inbound," shouted Vex. "Unknown tech. They're using phase cloaking." The Revenant's alarms screamed to life. "Shields up," Rays ordered. "All hands battle stations." Outside, Sleek black ships fired plasma spears that cut through asteroid debris like butter. Each ship was painted with a symbol, a broken sun inside a red triangle. Ghost silently slipped into the shadows. Ash climbed into the upper turret. Nova armed the auto turrets manually. Tank grabbed the heavy gun mounted on the airlock. Inside the main corridor, Race pulled on his helmet and roared, "Breach! Team on me!" The enemy didn't try to disable the ship. They came to kill. Dozens of black armored soldiers launched from the ships using magwings, gliding silently toward the Revenant. They punched through the hull with explosive drills and flooded inside. The first wave hit. Hard Ghost met them in a hallway, cutting 3 down before they even saw him. Tank turned the cargo bay into a meat grinder with his heavy gun. Ash sniped through vents and wall panels. Nova turned the ship's maintenance ducts into explosive traps. Vex rerouted power to internal shock fields, frying enemy boots. Raze charged the main corridor, meeting the second wave head-on with his glowing plasma. He moved like a storm. 1 slice, 2 kills, 3 seconds. For bodies. But something was wrong. These attackers weren't random mercenaries. They moved like they had trained against human tactics. They adapted fast. It's too fast. And they didn't want to capture. They wanted to erase. In the medical bay, Vex slammed another firewall onto the Revenant's core systems. She was about to lock. Down the life support when don't. She froze. It was Tank. He stood in the doorway, gun lowered. "Tank," she asked. "We're being boarded." "What are you?" He raised his weapon. I said, "Don't." Across the ship, Raze's come crackled. "Commander, we have a problem?" Vex's voice came through, shaking. "It's Tank. He's the mole." In the medbay, Tank's voice was quiet. "They offered me something, a way out, a real future." Vex backed up, hand near her shock stick. "You sold us out?" Tank looked down. "I didn't want to. But every time we fight, we go deeper. And Earth won't stop sending us until we're ashes." Vex's fingers twitched. "And your answer was to kill us all?" Tank sighed. "I was tired of being a weapon." And Ghost appeared behind him. No sound. A warning. "Just steal across the throat," Tank dropped. When Raze reached the bay, Ghost stood silently, covered in blood. Vex was shaking. "I would have handled it," she whispered. Raze nodded. "You shouldn't have to." With Tank gone, the team regrouped. Ash covered the bridge. Nova wired the engines for overload in case of total breach. Ghost wiped the last wave clean in engineering. Raze uploaded a burst signal to Earth Command. Then he stood over Tank's body. "He was one of us," Ash said. "Not anymore," Raze replied. Outside, the Black Fleet began to retreat, but not out of fear. They had planted something in the attack deep. Inside the Revenant's AI core, Hydra flickered. Systems began to glitch. Raze turned to Vex. "What is that?" Vex's face turned pale. "It's a digital kill seed, a weapon to shut us down." Nova cocked his head. "Like, forever," she nodded. Raze's voice was low. "Then we go dark. Shut down the ship's core. Manual systems only. No lights, no beacons, no transmissions." The Revenant faded into the black of space, hiding in the corpse field of a broken moon, waiting, watching, because now they weren't just fighting the swarm, they were fighting everyone. Deep inside the broken moon belt, the USC Revenant drifted cold and silent. No engines, no lights, no signals. The stars outside blinked slowly, aware of the death machine hiding among shattered rock. Inside, the Ghost Legion was still alive. But Change Tank was dead. Betrayal had hit hard, and now the enemy knew where to find them. Commander Reyes Maddox stood alone in the weapons bay, his axe resting against the wall. The room was lit only by emergency power dim red lights pulsing. It's like a dying heart. He stared at the blackened remains of the ship's central AI core. Hydra had been burned out neural net, fried by a council kill seed during the attack. Their systems were now completely manual. Raze didn't mind. He preferred to fight the old way in the med bay. Vex stitched up a long cut on Nova's shoulder. "You shouldn't have taken that blast to the chest," she muttered. Nova grinned. "Looked it. Dramatic, didn't it?" Vex shook her head. "One more stunt like that, and I'm locking your armor to the toilet." Ash entered, serious as always. "Got a signal." "Weak. Partial distress code." Rays appeared in the doorway. "Swarm." Ash shook her head. "No, worse. Council soldiers. Being attacked by a full hive Quindelta, the big one." Nova raised an eyebrow. "The same council that tried to kill us?" Yaposh said flatly. Rays looked around the room. "They're calling for help." Ghost, silent and shadowy in the corner.
Added once.
The team gathered around the last working tactical holopad. A faint 3D image glitched in and out. It showed Hive Delta, the largest swarm hive on record. It wasn't just a ship or a base hit. It was a living planet, grown from thousands of consumed worlds. A red mist surrounded its surface. Inside, millions of drones nested, spreading through the galaxy like cancer. The Council had tried to stop it. They had failed. Now, the same people who tried to erase the Ghost Legion were begging for them. Rays didn't speak for a long time then. He looked up. "We hit it." Nova whistled. "That's suicide," Rays replied. "That's a message." Operation HIVE-BRAAKER. The Revenant crept toward Delta like a shadow in the dark. The Ghost Legion reviewed what little intel they had. 4 key objectives. Destroy the Queen's heart chamber. Sever the drone control node. Evacuate any. Surviving Council troops leave a message. Vex looked up. "We don't have an AI anymore. No backup. No networked targeting. This is all boots and floor." Ray strapped his axe to his back. "Good, let's remind the galaxy what humans can. Do without machines?" The drop was brutal. The Revenant's atmosphere pods fired them straight into a bone sky breach over Delta. The world was alive skies made of sinew and mucus. Land pulsing underfoot. Strange creatures roamed between towers of fossilized flesh. It smelled like rot and war. They landed in a flesh canyon, where hundreds of Council soldiers were being slaughtered, surrounded by swarm. Hounds, no time to think. Rays led the charge. Ash provided sniper cover from a spire of bone. Nova dropped seismic charges into the canyon floor. Ghosts appeared behind the swarm lines, cutting them down with silent blades. Vex activated her last EMP, spike frying every swarm signal in a 200-meter radius, and Rays. He didn't stop moving. His axe tore through hardened chitin-like paper. He smashed drone heads, tore off limbs, set fire to nests with a flamethrower rig built into his suit's left arm. One Council soldier stared at him through cracked armor, blood on his face. You're real?" the man whispered. Rays grabbed him by the collar. "Where's the heart?" The man pointed to a glowing tower deeper into the hive. Rays dropped him. "Run or burn." The team moved fast, deeper into the hive. No backup. No friendly air support. No retreat. Ash called in from above. Drone waves coming from the west ridge. Big ones. No. Nova tossed a backpack-sized bomb onto a cluster. Not anymore. Inside the hive, Ghost discovered something worse. The Queen wasn't just birthing drones anymore. She was copying genetic material, hybridizing Council soldiers. Their corpses were being fused with swarm biology, creating new horrors. Rays stared through the glass of a birthing pod. A half-human, half-drone creature screeched in pain inside. He turned to Nova. "Burn it all." They reached the heart chamber. It beat like a giant organ, pumping black liquid through thousands of tubes. Vex rigged the charges. Timers set 2 minutes. Then the Queen appeared. She wasn't just massive, she was ancient. A towering, pulsating mountain of flesh, limbs, bone, and screeching mouths. Her voice vibrated inside their heads like nails on metal. "You are alone, forgotten, unloved." Ash aimed her rifle. "That all you got?" the Queen hissed, revealing a dozen burning eyes. "Burn with us." The fight was brutal. Rays went hand-to-hand with drone generals. Nova was wounded bad. Ghost vanished into the walls. reappearing behind the Queen with a chain of grenades. Vex barely got the detonator online dodge. Held the perimeter with a gun barrel glowing red-hot from overheating. Then, boom, the heart chamber exploded. The Queen screamed and collapsed. The hive began collapsing in on itself. Reyes grabbed Nova and pulled him out. Vex triggered the Revenant's autorecola, its barely working evac drone system. It was enough. They made it out from orbit. Hive Delta burned like a second sun, and the Ghost Legion left behind one last message, etched into a council beacon, floating in the firestorm. "We fight for Earth. You're next if you stand in our way." The Revenant limped through deep space. Hull scorched. Systems running on backup power. Crew bruised, bloodied but alive. Inside, the Ghost Legion sat in silence. They had done the impossible again. They had burned the Delta Hive to ash. But it had come at a price. Nova's armor was shredded. Vex's hands were raw from hardwiring the detonation. Ghost had taken a deep wound to the ribs. Even Reyes Maddox looked tired. The war room was quiet. The only sound was the hum of the air recyclers and the faint throb of cracked conduits. Ash was the first to speak. "They know now who?" Nova asked, lying flat with a tube in his arm. "Everyone." Ash tapped a flickering holoscreen showing intercepted broadcasts in alien worlds, pirate fleets, rebel colonies, even Earth's fringe outposts. Everyone was watching the footage of the Queen's final scream, of the Ghost Legion standing tall in a burning hive, of the final message they left behind: "We fight for Earth. You're next if you stand in our way." Across the galaxy, fear was spreading, but not from the swarm, from Earth. Far across the Orion Break, the Terran Union, proud empire, of cold-blooded humanoids met in secret chambers. These humans, their Prime Admiral spat, are more dangerous than the swarm. They do not conquer, they destroy. "They are few," another said, "and yet they cause panic in every system. They touch." "They are not soldiers anymore," a third added quietly. "They are symbols." In the shadows of galactic trade routes, pirate kings and mercenary warlords began to whisper, "Do not engage the humans. Never say their name in the black. They kill without rules. They don't take prisoners. They burned a hive. What would they do to us?" The name Ghost Legion became a warning, and in the darkest circles, one phrase kept returning: "Enemies of Earth, beware." Back on the Revenant, Reyes gathered the team. "Command isn't responding," said Vex, tapping a half-dead. "Consul, we're either too far out, or they've gone dark." Ash narrowed her eyes. "Or they've disowned us." "No surprise," Nova muttered. "We've broken half a dozen war codes, destroyed 3 council-backed operations, and killed their spy." "Tank wasn't just a spy," Reyes said coldly. "He was a lesson." They all fell silent. Then Ghost nodded once. Reyes turned to the group. "New mission," he said. "We don't wait for orders. We make our own." Vex pulled up a star map. It was incomplete, corrupted from the last digital virus attack. But one blinking red dot remained on the edge. "Unknown signal," she said. "Encrypted. Old Earth military code." Ash leaned in. "Could be survivors." Nova groaned. "Could be bait." Reyes stared at the signal. "It's a beacon from the Cerberus outpost. Thought it was lost 10 years ago." "You think someone's still alive?" Ash asked. "Only one way to find out." As the Revenant limped toward the edge of space, a message spread across secret networks. From Earth, from someone high-ranking. But the voice was scrambled, distorted. The message was short. "The Ghost Legion is not rogue. They are our last line. If you move against them, you move against Earth. Be warned. The monsters you feared were real, and we sent them on purpose." Some refused to believe it. Some rallied armies to hunt them, but others began to prepare defenses, not against the swarm, against humans. When the Revenant arrived near the Cerberus beacon, the system was quiet, too quiet. A planet floated ahead gray. Dead, no signs of life. Yet the beacon pulsed. Ping. Ping. Ghost. Moved to the scout pod. Chaos covered from the side hatch. Vex kept eyes on energy scans. They landed in silence. The old outpost was buried in rock and dust, half melted from some long-ago battle. Reyes pushed open the main gate with his axe. Inside, nothing, dust, bones, echoes, until a screen flickered to life, and a face appeared, old, worn, half-dash machine. It was a general from Earth's Black Division, the ones rumored to have disappeared years ago. His voice was broken. If you're seeing this, then the Ghost Legion lives. It means we still have a chance. Reyes froze. The swarm was never the only enemy. The council knew, but they didn't prepare. They buried the truth. They buried us with it. But we left you something. The image changed to a map, an old star route, labeled the Origin Rift, where the swarm was born, where it can end. Finish it. Shh, for Earth. Then the screen went dark. Reyes turned to his team. They all stared at the map. Ash whispered, "If that's real." "It's a suicide run," Vex finished. Nova groaned. "I've said that 4 times this week." Reyes nodded slowly, but if that's where the war ends, ... He looked at them all. Then that's where we go. As the Revenant powered up for one last mission, Ghost carved something into the wall near the war room using Tank's old combat knife. 6 words. We never wanted peace. Just victory. The Origin Rift. A dead zone between galaxies. No stars, no signals, no escape. The map burned in red across the Revenant's flickering holoscreen. The Ghost Legion sat in silence, staring at the place where the war began and would now end. Reyes. Maddox stood at the front, his voice low but steady. "This is it." In the shadows of the bridge, Vex whispered, "No one's ever come back from the rift." Nova replied, "That's because no one was us." Ash cleaned her rifle one last time. Ghost stood behind her, silent, sharpening 2 knives. No AI, no reinforcements. Just 6 warriors and a ship held together with bolts, blood, and fury. Reyes turned to the controls. "Take us in. It's deep within the rift." They passed through collapsing gravity tunnels, between swirling red lightning storms, into a space older than time, and then they saw it. A massive structure, black and alive. The swarm's origin hive. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a ship. It was something in-between, built from the bones of galaxies, powered by the memories of billions it had devoured, pulsing, breathing, a heart of evil that had never stopped beating. Ash's voice cracked slightly. "That's not a hive. That's hell." They approached in silence. Swarm drones flooded toward them, but this time, they didn't attack. They bowed. The hive had felt their presence. It recognized them, and it was afraid. Reyes pulled the team into the war room. Shot. No second chance. We cut the hive's nerve center, collapse it from the inside. Ghost activated a stealth landing pod. Vex finished rigging the last of Earth's oldest plasma bombs relics from when humans first fought the swarm. Nova handed out final energy packs, knowing they wouldn't be coming back. Ash checked every round. She didn't blink once. Reyes stood tall. "No one remembers the first humans who died in this war." He looked each of them in the eye. "But the universe will remember the last." The drop was brutal. They landed deep. Inside the hive, core black walls made of flesh and steel, tunnels echoing with the cries of 1 billion dead civilizations. Everywhere they looked, memories screamed at them. Human cities, alien temples, planets torn apart, etched into the walls and swarm bone. Ash whispered, "They remember everything they kill." Ghost growled, "Let's make them forget." The core was close, but the hive had one final guardian, a swarm titan, 10 stories tall, made of muscle, tech, and darkness. Eyes burning like collapsing stars, it spoke inside their heads. "You came to end us. You will join us instead," Reyes answered with plasma. The fight shook the hive walls. Nova dropped twin grenades into its chest. Ash blinded it with a rail shot through one eye. Vex jammed its targeting system. Ghost leaped onto its back and tore out its spine, and Reyes. He climbed the Titan's body as it burned and drove his axe straight through its brain. The The core chamber opened like a flower made of bone and blood. A heart floated inside, pulsing with red-black light. Every beat sent pain across space. Was it the swarm's seed? The first infection? The true source? Vex armed the final charges. Each one glowing with blue fire-old Earth's forbidden tech. Nova pressed his hand to the detonator and smiled. I never thought I'd die somewhere this ugly. Ash leaned against the wall, breathing heavy. Let's just hope it's permanent. Rays turned to Ghost. The quietest of them nodded once, then spoke 2 words for the first time in days. Light it. They activated the countdown. 60 seconds. The walls began to shift. The hive screamed, not in sound and thought. We can give you power. We can bring your dead back. You're monsters like us. Rays spat. We were monsters. Now we're executioners. They ran as the hive collapsed. Drones poured from the ceilings, screaming, melting, mutating, trying to stop them. Ash covered their escape. Ghost pulled her back just before a swarm cloud swallowed her. Nova collapsed, wounded. Rays carried him. Vex overloaded the final charge, early destroying. Half the tunnel behind them, they made it to the drop pod with 5 seconds left. The Revenant, patched and automated, caught them midair as the hive burst open. From orbit, the origin rift looked like a scar across space. Then it vanished. Gone. Swarm signals across the galaxy collapsed. Their hives died. Their drones froze. Their queens screamed, once and then were silent. The war ended. Back on Earth. A memorial was built in silence. No names. Just one line carved into the black stone. They burned the darkness, so we could live in the light. No one knew if the Ghost Legion survived. No one heard from the Revenant again, but legends spread of a ship seen drifting at the edge of forgotten systems, of 6 figures in dark armor, watching. God, because if the swarm ever returned, so would Earth's monsters.